Sometimes the things you watch can inspire you or even make you think a little bit. Sometimes there's a show that really resonates with you and the stage that you're in your life. Commitment is a very serious thing, and I feel like it's very difficult and quite scary to do when you're young. Commitment is something that you dedicate your energy to, meaning that you're probably settling with something. It could be a job, a relationship, or even where you live. To me, committing to anything when you're young is a terrifying concept, because the world is so vast. The only way to discover what you love and what you dislike is by exploring all the options that you possibly can. There are literally limitless amounts of things to do out there, and not nearly enough time to do all of them. But it's not just about the things you do, it's about the people you meet along the way and the things that you do with them as well. The activities are just as exciting as some of the strangers you'll meet along the way. Now, the show I'm talking about is an anime known as Golden Boy, and it's an anime released all the way back in 1995. That was 2 years before I was born. And this anime has just captivated me somehow. And to me, it illustrates the perfect example of how one should live their life in their 20s. Bar all the licking of toilet seats and pervertedness, of course. I mean, unless you're into that.
Oh, my queen! Oh, you're so naughty!
Golden Boy is a 6-episode OVA who stars a 25-year-old student known as Kintaro Oe, who has completed all his uni work and hasn't actually graduated yet. So he decides to go around Japan and travel on his bike and do odd jobs before he graduates to sort of study in the school of life, you know? On the surface, it doesn't sound like the most interesting concept, but I think it's executed so well because of its short length, and it doesn't get boring or overstay its welcome. But it could be a little bit longer. I mean, I really enjoyed it. At least 10 episodes, maybe 12, but 6 is short and sweet, you know? In each episode, he basically just does a different part-time job, going from a cleaner to a swim teacher to a programmer and even a kitchen assistant in a family-owned restaurant. He strives to master each job in every episode and learn as much as he can and help those around him as much as possible, and then move on to the next job. He is truly detached and committed only to being present and learning as much as he possibly can. His journey is a testament to freedom, and to be honest, it's how I think anyone should try and live their 20s. And here's why you need to watch Golden Boy in your 20s.
Motivate to motivate, spit till I suffocate, very quick to agitate, concentrate till I rate, I'm irate, in a state, my confidence is a trait, success is my motherfucking fate.
By doing all these jobs, he's gaining life experience in a variety of fields and meeting people who at first don't really like him or even disapprove of him in the worst circumstances, but I'm not surprised.
I may be dim, but it's always dark before the glorious sunrise.
But eventually he wins them over with his kindness and dedication to the job at hand, no matter what it is. Especially if the reward in question involves boobies! I mean, Kintaro loves tits. Like, holy hell. I mean, I do too, but this man just takes it to another level. The irony is that a lot of women that he chases detest him in the beginning when he lusts over them, but he proves his worth through his competence. And they end up chasing him, but by that point, it's too late for the girls. A lesson to be learned here, my guys. Chase your dreams and don't chase the women because they will chase you. Promise, that's a fact. The thing I love most about Kintaro is his kindness and his tendency to help others, and even strangers, people he doesn't know, even if it's at a cost to himself. Buddhism teaches us that happiness is grounded in selflessness and kindness, and working for others. There's a lot of Buddhism sort of laced into this show, like as undertones in the show. I'm serious, Kintaro really goes out of his way to help other people, and purely for the act of helping, and there's no real ulterior motive to what he does, typically, unless there's, you know, something involved. You know what I mean. In the first episode, he accidentally deletes the software that the girls were working on for months. So he ends up working all night to make a new one, but not just a new one, he makes a better, more improved one as well. And he doesn't even stay around to receive a thank you, he just sort of goes his merry way, you know? Or when he worked in a family-owned restaurant where the daughter was being manipulated for her hand in marriage, for the guy to just take over the restaurant. Kintaro tries to tell her and even begs the guy to not take advantage of such a young, innocent, sweet girl and her good family, and even if it means he takes a beating for it. So he got beaten up for someone else, sort of illustrates the point of him just being completely selfless, really, in a lot of ways. But yeah, he's a great guy. I think my favorite episode is where Kintaro meets a Yakuza member's daughter. Actually, sorry, Yakuza leader. She tries to provoke him into sleeping with her in order to test whether he's afraid or not, because obviously her father has quite high status and he's quite a dangerous guy. Even though he is unaware of who she really is, his maturity really comes into play when he can sort of discern that she has a few daddy issues, even though he doesn't know who the dad even is. As turned on by her as he actually is, he doesn't take advantage of the situation and he just genuinely tries to tutor her as agreed. And after taking Kintaro's journal, she finds out his true opinion of her, like the daddy issue thing that I said. She found that out pretty much by taking the journal without asking him. And as revenge, she rips her shirt and starts screaming. Her father comes upstairs and basically Kintaro's in a lot of trouble. Her Yakuza father and his goonies beat the hell out of Kintaro. Kintaro, being the alpha legend that he is, doesn't make any excuses, which actually leads to the father gaining respect for him. And after witnessing what is happening to Kintaro, she eventually stops all the fighting and sort of acknowledges him for being quite a good guy. And she confesses the truth to her father, which sort of stops the violence. And Kintaro's honor and maturity is something we should all take note of, I think. And speaking of notes, let's talk about Kintaro's journal. For Kintaro, this whole thing is about learning, and all the lessons that he learns, he writes in the journal. So he's getting all this life experience firsthand. Personally, I have my own journal where I write about my day, my thoughts and feelings. But after watching this, when I eventually go traveling, I'll bring a journal specifically for the lessons that I learn as I'm going around the world. Like, for example, interesting facts about humanity, culture, and just life stuff in general. One being through diversity of experience, which Kintaro gains from working all these different jobs. This is because different experiences can breed more wisdom, which is ultimately more beneficial for when you get older and decide what career you want to do and what you actually want to settle down and do when you get older. And the more experience you have, you can sort of decide what it is that you like and what you don't like, and the decision that you make will be a lot more accurate because you've sort of, by process of elimination, found the sort of people that you like to be with, the sort of jobs that you like to do, and the places where you like to live. It won't narrow it down completely, but a hell of a lot more than if you'd never tried it in the first place. A wider implication is traveling. And even though Kintaro only travels through Japan, it's through travel that we can learn the most. Personally, I have a lot of plans to do traveling in my 20s. I'm only 23 right now. So I've still got 7 years to try and do as much as possible. And you'll see more of this soon, I'm sure. I say 20 is more than anything else because, like Kintaro, we're in our mental and physical prime. The best sort of age to be learning stuff, the strongest possible age to be doing stuff. I think it all just culminates. The only thing is money, but if you have the money, I say go for it. Or at the very least, like, if you have the will to do it, go for it. Because usually money isn't that much of an issue if you're doing it cheaply. And of course, we have the optimal amount of energy to do and see as much as we possibly can. For most of us, we don't have any tie downs either. Typically, we don't have children, we're not in a very serious relationship, and we haven't got houses, mortgages, cars, and all these other things, or even a career, of course, that will tie us down and keep us in one place for a long period of time. At this age, I don't believe that making a lot of money should be a priority, nor should collecting expensive items. I think that pursuing experiences is far more invaluable. Valuable? Invaluable. I don't know if they're used interchangeably. And Kintaro's adventures eloquently illustrate this notion. Traveling allows for a completely new perspective on everything, and it opens your mind to new ways of life and new cultures, and things that you might not even have considered before. And in my opinion, everyone should travel while they're young. Pandemic, COVID, be damned, okay? Ultimately, to me, this is what being in your 20s is all about. Leaving where you came from, leaving your own town, and going out into this massive, crazy place we call Earth. And I think that, yes, within some limits, we can really see as much as we really want to in this life. And Kintaro going forth in this journey alone only reinforces this point. Only through being alone can we truly find ourselves. And, you know, not in the woo-woo, hippy-dippy type way, right? As we are forced to soul search and find who we truly are, and look deep within ourselves and conquer our anxieties. I know I've got quite a few. It's as self-help author from the 80s, Wayne Dyer said, be open to everything and attached to nothing. I think that you need to watch Golden Boy in your 20s, not because it will change your life or really change anything really, but from watching the journey that Kintaro goes on and the lessons that he learns, people whose lives he touches and the experiences that he makes, it makes you think, how should I live my 20s, and will I ever get this time again to do the things that I want to do? This anime didn't change my life, but it did reinforce some of the ideas I did have, and only made me more sure of what it is that I want to do. And I hope that inspires you too. But for now, stay golden, boys. And I've been Sir Lance, signing off.
It's open season and I'm out for the kill. Adrenaline pumping through my veins, now I'm feeling the thrill. Call me Itachi, you won't see me. Tsukuyomi. Underline